Hey, Charles. Charles, you hear me, brother?
Yeah, hold on. My AirPods are not working.
No worries. No worries at all. So you were you traveling this week or this weekend?
Yeah. What is this thing?
Did you get that truck out of the ditch last week?
Yeah, finally.
That was insane, man. I should probably pour that into my materials exchange cup instead of drinking out of it like that.
Say something.
Testing. Is your mother home?
Huh. We're having technical
testing. So everybody that's live, we're just getting Charles's audio hooked up, and we'll be on and rocking in a second here. Let me just get you open on my LinkedIn page. Let me know when you're up there, Charles. How's that, Charles? Anything there? Can't hear you. Hello? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Ash.
I hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Go lock that door.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. You're good, bro. Appreciate it.
No, your AirPods don't work, apparently. All right. Sorry about that.
No worries, man. Perfect. Sorry, I was late on a call. Hopefully we'll be able to announce it. Just got a large mill on. Got to start listing on here.
Sorry. Go ahead.
No worries. So we just got a large mill listed on here. So I'm coming in a little bit cold. Interesting. So welcome to Cutting Edge with Charles De La Torre, Ashley Buckle, mxlumber.com, the only digital platform buying and selling or matching buys and sells digitally, doing the freight and moving the money. So Charles, man, crazy week last week. Everybody was expecting different things. How did you sum last week up, and what do you see coming into this week on lumber and in panels?
Unpredictability is the undertone, and I think we touched on that last time we chatted too. I mean, it's you have people that have pent up demand, but nobody wants to make a deal because of print. I think print is creating a lot of issues, and as far as wood flow, because everybody in the South, and I think you mentioned this too, is that they look at print as a guidance as far as what the market is really doing, but in situations such as this, it's not correct.
Well, here's the crazy thing. So you see a print price off $100 on 2x4, off on 2x6, up on 2x12. You kind of know that it traded well below that. It's hard to catch it. It just kind of moves in the trend, right?
Yeah.
And then you go to the spruce market and you see no change at all in anything, right? So So what's the thing? Is spruce going to stay in Canada and Southern Pine just move in and move all up north?
I mean, it seems that way. They just shut down a railroad, didn't they?
Well, I think everybody was pushing out on social media last night about the CP strike, and then I just looked, and I don't know whether they still are. My history, and Greg even said this last week, what do you think about the CP strike? And he said, who cares? Like, none of that ever, in my history, has never panned out. They usually are pretty quick and get over with pretty quick and get handled pretty quick. So I don't know what happened today on that. I know people last night were pushing out stuff about that happening, by the time I hear about it, everybody probably knew about the week before I knew about it, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people in this industry are just burnt out because it's one thing after the other. It's war in Ukraine. It's this. It's, oh, Russian exports are getting cut off. We're not importing any Russian wood. Well, who's going to make up for the Russian stumpage in Europe? How are they going to supply and process and so on and so forth? Then, oh, well, Canada's shut down the biggest railroad. I mean, it's one punch after the other. And at what point does it all mean nothing, quite honestly?
At some point, you don't want to get up off the mat. You just want to lay there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not. I mean, I don't give up that easy. But
No,
I mean,
I know.
it's just one of those things where you chuckle about, like you laugh because it's comical at this point.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, look at on the platform last week, we certainly saw kind of a tipping of more sellers and buyers. But here's the thing: there was liquidity still, right? So, spruce, as much as I joke about no change in spruce, we're still moving product at numbers pretty close to print numbers for trucks, right? Because when you get into a situation where let's basically sum it up. I mean, trucking is still tough everywhere. Rail cars aren't shipping real quickly. So prompt wood on the ground, and prompt is I'm loosely using that term. You can have something sitting
just
somewhere.
Say ready. Just say ready.
It's ready. Yeah.
It's ready.
Ready means you may see it in 3 days or 3 weeks, but it's ready, right? But with that said, some places in the country have cars that they've been waiting on for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month. And so we're seeing fill-in happening from traditional carload markets 1,000 miles away where truckloads are being shipped to them with freight sometimes of $6,000 or $7,000. And they're taking them. So there's still a big disconnect in the shipping market. And like you said, all of a sudden, uncertainty in Ukraine, railroads talking about stuff now. I mean, kind of weighs out. People are still buying lumber. OSB seems to have it's still liquid, but I would say that it's a little bit more squishy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Is that?
It definitely does. I mean, it depends on the product. I mean, if you're looking at 3/4 flooring, no, I wouldn't say it's as squishy as 7/16 or half inch.
Yeah.
But it's not soft. None of it's soft by any means, right? I mean, it's not. There's no.
Yeah, I didn't want to say soft.
Panels coming from anywhere, but is there more available? Can you ship things quicker? You know, yeah. I mean, there's some of that going on, but once again, you talk about people supplementing based on loads that are already laid. I mean, that gets chewed up and spit out pretty quick.
Yeah, no doubt. So one of the markets it's hard for me to get a handle on since I'm not in it all the time. Give me a little update about what happened in the Southern Pine market to make the product come off 100 on print. I mean,
we received 10 trucks of 2x6 product with dust on it. That was a month old. So that made us stop buying.
Are you sure? Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But we bought that block at good numbers, so it didn't really matter. But, I mean, it's already sold and moving on to the next. But, I mean, it makes you leery.
Right. And now, but 2x12 seems to be caught up. I think you were saying because it's time of the year for logs, but also I think there's a lot of people substituting that if they can and make the adjustment for I-joist, right? And
that's definitely it. I mean, 2x12 comes out of a bigger log. Bigger logs are further deep off the road, which right now in the South, the ground is literally squishy. So it makes it real difficult to get any large volume of wides. I mean, especially 2x12. And if you've got a lot of multifamily guys that are transitioning from I-joist historically to 2x12s because they can't get them, there goes your supply pretty quick. I mean, you might get a glut somewhere and then somebody buys it and it's gone in 20 minutes. So
do you trade in the 2x12 market, the Y market at all? A little bit or
no? Not a whole lot. I mean, majority of what we do is 2x4, 2x6, and 2x8.
Okay.
We do some 2x12 reman for industrial applications, low grade, but that's about it.
Right. Now, so what do you see? We talked for the last 3 or 4 weeks in the odd trims, not odd trims. You were cutting them back 116 and 5/8, all that. Is that still a hot market?
8s and 10-foot trims are, I don't know if they got a special dose of Kevlar compared to 9s this go around or what, because you can't, there's not enough of 2x4, 2x6, and 2x6 92s are abundant as green grass right now, but 2x4, 92 and 5/8, whether it's Euro-Canadian and 116 and 5/8 and 2x4 and 2x6, you can That's a highly liquid market, as you like to put it, unlike the nickel market.
It
Polar
depends.
opposite.
That's crazy, isn't it? That exchange.
They're going to have to rework that whole thing. I mean, it's the credibility is blown, man, blown.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. So that's the Southern Yellow Pine market. The Euro market, the call we were just on. So some people are saying it's harder to get Euro. Some people are saying vessels are coming over without a problem. I think it's where people are sitting in Europe, whether they're close to the Ukraine or they got some fiber around Russia. But we're still seeing stuff listed on the platform, although not as much on the European. Have you heard anything on that at all, as far as more vessels and more sales coming over here?
Well, I think allocations effects on allocations from overseas based on what's happened in Ukraine and Russia aren't going to be felt. I mean, those guys accumulate log decks like the Canadians do. So their log supply, they're not going to feel that reallocation of resources for, probably May. So right now there's no change, but all the vessels that are showing up now have been booked for 90 days?
Yeah, I know. We had some vessels coming in through, not we, some of our sellers did, that were delayed a little bit, right? Now they're starting to get in. And some of the reason for that was backup at some of the ports, but also because of the Ukrainian situation. They said there was one particular case, there were Russian vessels that they had to get out of the port, get in and out of the port quickly on the East Coast in case there was some kind of embargo. So they had our other stuff sitting there, hanging out, waiting to get in. At least that's what I was told, which makes sense, right? I guess
it makes a lot of sense.
That makes absolute sense. And these ports are still down in Texas. We have one port we can only get 10 trucks a day, 10 trucks max a day into, for everybody trying to get stuff out of there. I mean, that's hard to manage a shipment when you got like 100 things to move, right?
Yeah, I mean, it makes it extremely difficult, and
right.
They're not the only ones. Let's just say that.
No, they're not.
You have minimum or maximum truckload shipments per day. I mean, there's quite a few, in the Southeast that have done that too. I think one of them's 12 or 15. But I mean, that's scary when you got 45 or 50 loads sitting somewhere, or 300 if you're a mill or direct, another player. I mean, that's tough.
It's not just ports. I shouldn't just say that about it's reloads. It's everybody, and it's really because of a lot of reasons. Busiest they've ever been, and lack of human resources in a lot of ways, right?
Very much so.
You mean look at the business that you're in. I mean, you're managing a market and you're managing human beings, a labor force. I can't think of two things that are that are really hard to manage, especially in a great economy and what we just went through. So what are you doing to manage both of those? How do you handle that?
You put the right people in the right positions.
Yeah.
And you rely on people to be professionals in their field, and you make sure that you give them enough responsibility to where they can perform, but they don't fail.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a lot to bear, and there's a lot that goes on with it, but I mean, it is what it is. What choice do you have at this point?
I just hats off to you, man. You do a good job doing that. So what's your Charles? What's your thought going into this week? What are we gonna see? I mean, everybody seems to still feel that we're just at a standstill. Look, I actually think, from talking to friends and people I know in the industry, it's split right down the middle where they think things are going. Nobody really knows, and they think it could go higher or lower at this point. What are your thoughts on it?
You got to be on both sides of the market, no matter what your species is. Luckily for us, once again, we can trade species against species and be successful with it and bring some values to our customer base. But I mean, it's tough. I mean, you got 2-4-9s that are heavy discounts, 2-4-10 trims that are astronomically expensive. 9.2 and 5/8 and 2x4 are stupid high as well. So, but then you look at Southern Yellow Pine and you've got guys that are discounting $100, $125, $150 on print. So, are they just alleviating buildups, or are they not being successful at that and having to go lower to get people enticed into the market?
So that's a good point. How much, and I don't live in the mill world, but how much are people is now that COVID is being over, people are starting to get through the different rules and regulations. Are these mills now in in the South starting to ramp up production a little bit? Because there was a big hole in a lot of that production for a while with the whole COVID thing going on, right? Are we going to see a little bit more production coming out? Are we? Maybe that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
I don't know if it's directly tied to COVID. Right?
Yeah.
But I think people are going back to work. There's still a glut of jobs that need to be filled. So that's still yet to be seen. I just think, you've got mills that have astronomical resources as far as warehousing and have the ability to put 2 or 3 weeks of production on the ground. And, trucking's insanely tight. So it could be happenstance that wood's sitting there longer than it needs to due to the result of transportation, logistics, rail cars, trucks, no matter what, or it could truly be they overran and didn't sell into it good enough. So your guess is as good as mine. I'd just rather stay on both sides of it and try to figure out some way to land in the middle.
Yeah, cool. Well, look at I wanted to keep it short today since I don't know anything going on in the market any different than I knew last week. I'm kind of in the process of figuring that out, but I appreciate you coming on today, taking the time. Again, Charles, Industrial Forest Products. You can get a hold of Charles. We'll put his email up here so you can see how to get a hold of him. There it is, cdelatorre@ifpwood.com. If you want to get on mxlumber.com, go to mxlumber.com. Go to Get Started, register, and we'll have you buying and selling lumber if you can buy full trucks or full cars in 24 hours. So, Charles, I appreciate it. I'll be a little bit more up to date and ready to go next time, but thank you.
Usually you pepper me with questions. You're usually the smartest guy in the room.
I usually do, but I didn't get it done today, man.
Wow. Priorities, right? Priorities.
Oh, you're a priority, man. Always remember that.
I appreciate it, Ash. Y'all have a good day.
All right, you too. Bye.